Good afternoon. My name is Sheena Wright. I'm the first deputy mayor, and I want to first start out by saying we have all been in constant communication with the mayor as he travels abroad. We have with us today Fabian Levy, our deputy mayor for communications, Mira Joshi, our deputy mayor for operations, Zach Iskell, our commissioner for New York City Emergency Management, Idanis Rodriguez, our commissioner for the Department of Transportation, and Laura Kavanaugh, our commissioner for the fire department. This briefing is to let New York City know that we are preparing for periods of potentially heavy rain from around 2 a.m. tonight through Saturday afternoon. According to the latest forecast from the National Weather Service, New Yorkers should expect anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 inches of rain or more citywide, with a potential for 3 to 4 inches in some areas as the city as conditions shift. We are encouraging New Yorkers to plan ahead as the ground is still saturated from last week's heavy rain, which could result in potentially significant flooding and travel disruptions in typical flood-prone areas. Our city is taking action to protect all New Yorkers, including, if necessary, rescuing those in need of help. Every single one of our agencies has an emergency plan, and we are executing those plans. We are ready, and you should be as well. Here are some things that you, New Yorkers, should and can do. Please be alert to your surroundings and be cautious. If you live in a flood-prone area or a basement apartment, remove your belongings from the floor and be prepared to move to a higher area. Since this is happening overnight, you might be asleep, so you should be preparing now. Allow for extra travel time and use public transportation. If you must drive, please drive slowly and use major streets and highways, if possible. Do not drive into flooded areas or streets or go into flooded subway stations. 6 inches of moving water can knock over an adult, so try not to step into flood water if you see it. Call 911 for help in case of an emergency. For non-urgent issues, call 311. Check on your friends, relatives, neighbors, especially the elderly and those with health conditions. And please sign up for Notify NYC. It will give you regular updates about traffic, transit disruptions, as well as other notifications. You can sign up by calling 311, visiting nyc.gov/notifynyc, or by following Notify NYC on Twitter. Additionally, as we are preparing for potential significant flooding tonight and tomorrow, our teams have been hard at work recovering from last week's historic flooding as well. As you'll recall, we had to temporarily transfer all patients from NYC Health and Hospital's Woodhull Hospital to allow for electrical repairs. Thanks to our team's effort, those repairs are completed. The hospital will resume operations tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for emergency and labor delivery units, and the rest of the hospital will start accepting patients on Tuesday morning. I'll close with this. In this time of man-made climate crisis, flash floods and other climate events are a part of our reality. This is, in fact, the new normal. In addition to emergency preparedness, we are also taking long-term and immediate steps to lessen the harm caused by these emergencies. We are tackling the issue at its source by reducing our city's impact on the planet, and we must continue to draw down emissions, reduce waste, build resiliency, and innovate for a greener and more sustainable future. We want to stay safe, and we will if we work together. I'm going to first introduce Commissioner Iskell to give us a full, detailed update.
Great. Thank you, First Deputy Mayor. Here in the city of New York, the safety of all New Yorkers is our highest priority, and we're taking comprehensive coordinated steps to mitigate the impact of this weather situation over this evening into tomorrow. Yesterday, we activated our flash flood emergency plan, which involves the concerted efforts of multiple city agencies, including partners from the state and the federal government, like the National Weather Service. Here in the city, that includes the Fire Department, NYPD, Department of Environmental Protection, Sanitation, DOT, and more. Together, we work to ensure a seamless response to flash flood emergencies. Our Emergency Operations Center is already fully functional and is serving as a hub for strategic and efficient allocation of resources across our great city. The Flash Flood Emergency Steering Committee has been convened to act as the central coordinating body for interagency preparedness. This is what we do every time that we activate the flash flood plan. This committee is planning, executing, and overseeing the tasks required to address this weather threat. Our agencies from the Department of Environmental Protection, Sanitation, Transportation are already on the ground clearing catch basins, particularly in areas that we know flood regularly. This is crucial to preventing rainwater from causing major disruptions. In terms of public awareness, the city is boosting hazard consciousness through specific public warnings and advisories. Vital information concerning safety precautions, available resources, and key city actions are being communicated through multiple city agencies. This is to ensure that New Yorkers are informed and prepared for the upcoming wet weather conditions. We strongly urge all New Yorkers to take safety measures seriously. If you have to travel, please use public transportation. If you must drive, please use major streets or highways and drive carefully and cautiously. If you must travel tonight and tomorrow, expect and plan for delays. One specific area of concern we are actively addressing is the safety of our residents in basement apartments. These spaces are uniquely vulnerable to flooding, and we are taking this issue very seriously. If you find yourself in a dangerous situation in a basement apartment, please leave and call 911 immediately. Do not hesitate to do this. Our emergency management team has been focused on disseminating information tailored for residents in these lower level living spaces. We've gone beyond merely sending out warnings. We've engaged in canvassing and organized an event over the summer citywide that specifically targeted people who live in basements and in these areas. To further assist, we've also created a specialized Notify NYC subgroup for basement apartments. This will provide key updates that are particularly resonant if you live in a basement space. To sign up, you can go to nyc.gov/notify, or you can call 311. The increasing urgency of recent weather events highlight that climate change is here, and it is a now issue. We're maximizing every resource to bolster New York City's resilience against climate-related threats. While major projects are underway, it's crucial for every New Yorker to stay informed and take action. Notify NYC, as the first deputy mayor said, is our free emergency notification system. This system allows us to send you real-time crucial information about weather updates or other emergencies. If you haven't signed up yet, now's the time. You can go to nyc.gov/notify NYC. You can call 311 or download the app. It's available in 14 languages, including American Sign Language. You can also follow us on Twitter at Notify NYC. Thank you, and be safe.
Thank you, Commissioner Iscol. Next up, we have our Commissioner for the Fire Department, Commissioner Kavanaugh.
Thank you, and good afternoon. I want to talk a little bit about what the fire department has on every day as a redundancy for emergencies and storms like this, and what specific resources we have for this storm. So every single day, 24 hours a day, the FDNY has 111 water-trained rescue units that are in service. They're trained in cold water rescues and have exposure suits, buoys, and life preserves. We also have 5 rescue companies, 8 squad units, for a total of 68 members who are always working, who are trained in advanced water rescue techniques. These include the skills for some of the more dangerous operations that we see in rivers and swift water. To deal with wind and tree events, we have 143 ladder companies on 24/7 that are equipped with chainsaws and can aid with down trees if wind comes along with the rain. If needed, we can activate that task force at any time, and we will be working with our partners in OEM to decide if we need to activate that for this storm at any point. We also have 6 high-axle vehicles available. 3 of them were in service for last week's storm and will likely be for this week's storm as we monitor the weather. They are the vehicles that help us rescue, especially those motorists who get stranded in flash floods. We also have 3 on-duty SOC units with additional chainsaws if needed, and we are staffed and ready to go in dispatch, and also have a redundancy plan for upstaffing and dispatch if we end up getting more calls during these storms. We are definitely prepared and ready to go and continue to monitor this storm and can adjust our specialized resources as necessary as the storm unfolds. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kavanaugh. Next up, we have Deputy Mayor Mira Doshi.
Good afternoon. I want to just take a step back for a moment and talk about where we are and where we have to go. This was the hottest summer since global records began in 1880 and the wettest September in New York City in 140 years. Floods that could be expected to occur once every 500 years now take place every 100 years. 100-year storms take place every 20 years. As the deputy mayor responsible for this city's infrastructure and operating agencies, our team is on the front lines of shoring up our city's foundation against the critical damage of climate change, excessive heat, torrential rain, high tides, pollution. Today, the focus is water, and to fight water, we have to handle more of it and more unpredictable times. Our sewer system cannot do it alone. Although we've added 125 miles, this administration has added 125 miles to our 7,000 miles and more of sewer. Like so many cities across the globe, we must become more absorbent. We must become a sponge. That takes many forms. Immediately small areas that we green so they absorb water in storms, to large places, ponds, and wetlands that can absorb large quantities of water in a storm, to playgrounds that double as holding tanks to hold water. These are all throughout our city, and we have plans to really engage in broadening our footprint of an absorbent New York City. We've added 10,000 linear feet of porous pavement, and as Ida taught us so many lessons, we took them and we've completed a vast majority of the recommendations in the post-Ida report, and we're going beyond with even broader and bolder plans to make our city resilient in our Plan NYC and our Rainfall Ready reports. But we really need two essential tools. One, funding, and two, construction delivery. We've invested over $300 million in resiliency. We've got applications out for another $200 million from the federal government, but we have to competitively compete each time we ask for money. And unlike housing, transportation, and social services, we don't have reliable formula federal dollars that come to us year after year. It's time we change that and really prioritize resiliency across the nation and especially in our urban centers. And two, the delivery tools, how to build better, faster, and higher quality. Working with Controller Brad Lander, we've been lobbying Albany to get the authority to get those delivery tools that will allow us to do this work faster, cheaper, and deliver for New Yorkers. So we're confident with both the plans that we have, our pursuit in getting the tools that we need, we will be able to keep New Yorkers and continue to keep New Yorkers sound, safe, and dry. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, I think we have Yokarina Duarte, the Chief of Staff to the Commissioner of Emergency Management.
Thank you. So this is messages in Spanish, so for the Spanish speakers, press. El Departamento de Manejo de Emergencia de la Ciudad de Nueva York está trabajando arduamente con el Servicio Nacional de Meteorología y las demás agencias de la ciudad para asegurarnos que la ciudad esté preparada. Hemos estado tomando precauciones necesarias en caso de que la tormenta cause inundaciones u otros estragos en la ciudad. Ayer, el Departamento de Manejo de Emergencia activó el plan de inundaciones repentinas por el pronóstico de lluvia intensa que se espera hoy. El Departamento de Protección Ambiental, el Departamento de Sanidad y el Departamento de Transportación han activado equipos de limpiezas y barreras de sistema de alcantarilla para asegurarnos de que estas no estén bloqueadas y que el drenaje pueda fluir constantemente. Aconsejamos a los neoyorquinos que se inscriban a Notify NYC, que es el sistema de alerta de la ciudad de Nueva York. Es el sistema oficial, el cual está ofreciendo ese servicio en 14 idiomas, incluyendo el lenguaje de señas estadounidense. Sabemos que los pronósticos de lluvia que espera la ciudad de Nueva York pueden ser moderadas a fuerte. Y como dijo la subalcaldesa Sheena Wright, La ciudad se está preparando, pero la lluvia es algo que vamos a experimentar más y más, así que esperamos que los neoyorquinos sigan los consejos de preparación al pie de la letra. Algunos de los consejos que los neoyorquinos pueden seguir es que si van a salir, agreguen tiempo adicional a su viaje y si es posible, utilicen el transporte público. Si deben conducir, conduzca despacio y no entre a carreteras que pueden estar inundadas. Si ven un sótano que es proveniente de inundaciones, busque seguridad en un terreno más alto y ahora es el mejor momento para mover algunas de las cosas que pueden estar en un lugar que se inunde. Estén pendientes a los vecinos, los parientes y los amigos, especialmente a aquellos más vulnerables y especialmente a los adultos mayores. De nuevo, le recordamos a los neoyorquinos que la ciudad está preparada y que tenemos varios recursos, así que es el momento para utilizarlo, especialmente inscribiéndose a Notify NYC para recibir este tipo de alerta de notificación en español. Notify NYC está disponible en la página web de la ciudad de Nueva York, nyc.gov/Notify NYC o llamando al 311 para inscribirse. Gracias.
Thank you. I think, Fabian, now we're going to take some questions.
Hi. I have two questions, actually. The first, I know there was talk about an after-action report after Ida, and I'm wondering, has there been one after last week's storm? What lessons has the city learned in terms of messaging, other preparedness issues? Is that being put into action this week?
We are actively preparing an after-action review, which we traditionally do after any incident. And so that is absolutely in progress. And going back to look at other reports, what we have done, as Deputy Mayor Joshi said, many of the recommendations from the IDA report have actually been completed by this administration. And we're continuing to follow up on the other things that we need to do as we move forward.
Second question is, I guess, there's all this resilience that's working, you're waiting for grants. What is a New Yorker to do when, the Bronx River Parkway, for example, which flooded, people got trapped after Ida, they got trapped last week. You're driving along, this storm is happening. At what point should people expect things like that to be fixed?
I'll take some of it. I mean, some of it is preparedness, right? So we do travel advisories and we warn people about traveling in inclement weather. In low-lying areas, it's particularly difficult. And so it's a combination of the resiliency work that we've done. And we have a few examples recently in the Rockaways and in downtown Brooklyn where we've changed the sewer work. We've done work around making the areas more absorbent. And when this most recent flooding, those neighborhoods saw a marked difference. So it makes a difference when we do the work, and we're determined to pick up the pace of the work and ensure that we're doing that work across the boroughs, but really zoning in the areas that are the most vulnerable.
And just also, as Deputy Mayor Joshi said, it takes too long to get the work done. So we've got to cut out all of the unnecessary steps, and we have plans in place to do that, but we need help from Albany. And we also have to appreciate that our infrastructure is hundreds of years old, so it's not going to be fixed overnight. So we're going to continue to have these problems in the short term, but we can fix them more quickly if we can get through some of the bureaucratic challenges that we currently face.
But just in the meantime, what's the message to New Yorkers?
Yeah, there are preparedness, but there are short-term actions we take, like the rain gardens that we put out. They may look like nothing, but in quantity, they make a difference. Making sure that the catch basins are clear. So bringing back alternate side of the street parking did a lot to ensure that those catch basins are clear, but do your part. Throwing trash down a catch basin is actually very harmful for us and more than just the littering. Making sure your gutters are clean and your household's taken care of. And DOT does a tremendous amount of work working with DEP to prepare in advance for those areas where we can expect flooding and try to move traffic away from them. So we have to do a lot of short-term fixes as the long-term are in progress, but it's continuous movement towards understanding that as a city, we have to be able to absorb more water.
Thank you.